Welcome to Melt University. This series will help you build your brand, inform you on a variety of career paths, and introduce you to top executives in sports and marketing. Now, here's your host, the president and CEO of Melt, one of the largest independent sports and event marketing agencies in the country, Vince Thompson.
Welcome back, students. Virtual Melt University. We continue to roll in through the fall and barreling down to the holidays, and it's unbelievable that we've been doing these podcasts for nearly 6 months now, many months. We appreciate all of your listenership, your feedback, your responses. We're glad to so help you out during this crazy COVID period. And today I've been really looking forward to our interview today with Matt Wolff, the founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Great entrepreneur, great story. I think he's going to really enlighten you about being an entrepreneur as well as carving out your own space, but also pursuing your passion. Similar to me, Ticket Time Machine is an entertainment company that specializes in souvenir tickets and credentials for events, which now with the ticketless thing, which I think is just one of the greatest strategies ever in sports, we'll talk about in a minute, helping fans enhance the fan experience by giving them something to commemorate their memories. He's in Boca Raton, Florida, which is where I wish I was today. Offer thermal tickets, customized printing, 3D tickets, name tags, credentials. We'll probably have to get something done for Build Brand New. We got our lunchbox. We need the book coming out. University of Florida grad. We won't hold that against him. But great career, worldwide, monster. He worked for Smaltz Brewing Company. I may send me some Smaltz. I hadn't heard of that one in a long time. Vandelay Consulting, not to be confused with Seinfeld. And he's been collecting ticket stubs since before Michael Jordan played baseball. Matt, believe it or not, I bought Michael Jordan's house in Birmingham that he lived in when he played baseball. And then when Rocky defeated Drago in Rocky 3 and
Rocky 4.
Rocky 4, and obviously had a passion. But Matt, Matt Wolff, founder, CEO of Ticket Time Machine, welcome to Virtual Melt University.
Thanks, Vince. Great to be here.
Yeah, and by the way, you've always been a man after my heart because I have every ticket stub and every press pass of every event I've ever attended in my life or worked in my life. I've got thousands of them. I've got a ticket from my Elvis Presley concert in 1975, Mobile Municipal Auditorium. I've got a sideline credential press pass from Bear Bryant's 315th tying win over Coach Dye's first year at Auburn. Wow. So I look forward to having this conversation because, like I said, going to a ticketless and cashless and paperless environment, just hanging on to those game programs, hanging on to those tickets. But before we really get into what you do and where you see the future and where you see opportunities, we sort of like to throw everything all the way back to when your passion for what you do was formed, because we hear like some certain people had passion and they got to college. Hey, I think I'm going to be a doctor. Then they fell in love with brand marketing and those types of things. I had a passion for sports. I had a passion for writing, which I was able to translate as a student assistant in Auburn Sports Information into a career. So I knew where my passions lied. What about you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I grew up being a very big sports and entertainment junkie. Uh-huh. And so I would say probably as I was in college, my thought was I always wanted to work in sports. And then I said, I'd love to do trailers for movie promotions. I thought that was like the coolest thing, and I wanted to work on that. And it became very difficult to get into, and so I kind of struggled to find work, always knowing that eventually I'd be working somewhere in sports. But I think everyone kind of, when you're growing up, you just sort of dream about being in sports because it's it seems so glamorous. And then as you
Right.
get older, there's a couple of factors on why you maybe don't get into it. One, it's very hard to get into because everyone wants to get into it and people don't just leave those jobs. And the second thing is maybe it's not as glamorous as you thought it might be, because my friend who was the ticketing guy for the University of Florida had to work like the first half of every game.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a much different experience than if I'm just there watching everything and not having to worry about it. So, I always believed I would get here, and it took me longer than I would have liked, but better late than never.
Well, I didn't start Melt till I was 37 with a newborn, by the way. So to your point, better late than never. So we tell our kids at the campus, and obviously Florida, great journalism school, great marketing, Scott Strickland, your AD, and Jay Jacobs, Auburn boys, down there, Steve Melnick, our business partners. And, I've got friends on the national championship team. Obviously, Tom Petty, amazing story of how he got started. Creed. I know some of those band guys. But what about your experience in college? Did it get you on this path? And I understand the passion. I can figure your passion out quick for sports. But what about your college? Because we tell our kids the campus is the ultimate professional laboratory.
Yeah, so it did not, and that's probably maybe why I'll have some insight that could help the students. I was not a good student. I'm a street smart kind of guy, not a book smart kind of guy. Funny enough, I have a twin brother. He also went to the University of Florida. I followed him after a year of community college. He's a book smart kind of guy, not as street smart as I am. And so I wasn't a good student. I was lazy. I wanted to have fun. I didn't even really look to get an internship or think about anything until it was probably too late. And so that hurt me once I was graduated, because it's just without any experience and nothing, it's a real tough road to get a decent job right out of college. Combine that with the fact that I moved to South Florida, which is a whole nother conversation. Aside from being a doctor, lawyer, or a salesperson, the industry is tough. And so it took me a long time to even get a job that I would even want to talk about or put on a resume. And so if I could do it all over again, I would do an internship for sure. Definitely probably a summer internship. My brother actually did an internship for Madison Square Garden. It was a full semester internship. So if you have the opportunity to do that, whether it's in the US or overseas,
right,
I would say that would be the number one way to go. He actually got offered a job from MSG before he even graduated, but obviously had to go back and finish up. But it helped him. His path was, much different than mine. And I would attribute it all to that internship that he did.
Well, you brought up a couple of things. So if you did have to do it all over again, because what I tell these kids is not only you're gaining relevant experience, you're showing a potential employer that you are a hustler, you're a self-starter, you're an initiative. And that you'll go out and do that, and you're adding these things to your resume. It's also amazing networking and relationship building. I was driving Dick Vitale and Paul Feinbaum to the airport when I was 20. So what would you do over? What would you do different, and how would you do it?
Well, I think I just would think more about the future. Like when I was in school, I sort of couldn't wait to get out, but I didn't have a plan. Now I would be like, once you're out, you're like, oh man, I wish I was back there, because you're just hit with all these responsibilities, and you learn a lot in college, regardless of what it is. I went away. I had my brother there. I had some friends, so it's a little bit different experience for me. But you just really learn about life, and I think that's the most important thing of being at college, as opposed to I'm not. None of the archaeology that I learned or science or math
right.
is going to help you, and that helps some people. Some people
it
need
does.
that.
It does.
Some people need that. But so what would I do? I would have made a plan. I would have targeted more. I mean, I did kind of say I wanted to do the movie stuff, and I did some research on it. I probably didn't pursue it in the way I needed to pursue it. So I would have pursued something a lot harder and made a better plan and targeted.
So I think that you just hit the nail on the head. And here's the other thing, Matt. There's no excuse now. These kids have ultimate access to information with LinkedIn and resources and research. So, so then, at what point did you decide to take the entrepreneurial leap the proverbial deep end of the pool, because I had this gnawing in my stomach for many years. I was like, if you ain't the man, you ain't the man. And if you ain't the lead dog, the view doesn't change. I would say that over and over to myself. And then finally, as I said, I can't take it any longer. And I dove in the deep end. So what drove you into to taking the plunge?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here. The first thing is I agree with what you're saying. I consider myself a unicorn disruptor. I always tell people I don't want people telling me what to do any more than I want to tell people what to do. And I always sort of figured I'd have to work on my own. Just the work-life balance part of it. It's just difficult to get that if you have to go in the structure of red corporate, America. But I have to give credit to my mom. I say this all the time. She was always had this entrepreneurial thought to her. And back when we were little, we were trying stuff. We sold stuff at an outdoor auction. We went around painting house numbers in paint on a sidewalk curb so people could see your number. Because if it's dark out and you look at back where we grew up in the suburbs, the house.
So tell me where you grew up.
In New Jersey, Marlboro, New Jersey. Yeah.
New Jersey. Yeah.
And, so went to college.
So you always had a street hustle. You a street hustle. You had a street hustle like I did.
Yeah. Well, I had it in my mind. I didn't have the drive and I didn't have the motivation, but I had it in my mind. And I always thought to myself, I need to find something to work so I could do on my own. And the thing I really wanted to harp on is what can I do that the mass wants. So I don't have to worry about selling a $10,000 product. I can worry about selling $2 or $3 products all day long. Sort of like the Lance Armstrong bracelet thing.
Which is the most unbelievable thing ever.
Or Bob's Barricades, right? So I didn't really do anything on my own until a couple of years ago when I started Ticket Time Machine. Now, Vandalay Consulting I was kind of like a broker when I left the ticket printing company. I kind of just did a little brokering of my own. But at the end of the day, everyone knew I wasn't a print shop. And so, I just had some good relationships. 2 years ago is when I kind of did it. And the thing was, we'll probably get into this, but I always wanted to do it. And then every time I had an idea, like I had a lot of good ideas. There was beer festivals like 10 years ago, 12 years ago, when I first moved here. I wanted to start my own beer festival. And I kind of did some research. But once I hit that first speed bump, I just kind of stopped and I gave up. And this last time I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. And I'm just going to push. And you'll find out that it's not an easy thing to do, but it gets easier after that first speed bump that you've gone through. And if you're determined to do it, I don't want to say you can do everything and anything you want to do, but if you're determined to do it, you give it your full on shot and you do it until you either break through and you've succeeded, or you've found out that, look, this isn't going to work. I have to find something else, but then find that other thing and just do it. The Al Davis thing, just do it, is like it's just so simple and so correct.
Well, you just hit on several things that are in my book and that we preach to the kids. First of all, in my book, the quote, Michael Jordan says, I never missed a shot I didn't take. I never, so he's like, take the shot. He said, I missed so many game-winning shots, but I wasn't afraid to take the shot. Second, we tell our kids. I
think that was Gretzky, wasn't it?
I'm sorry, it was Gretzky. I'm sorry, it was Gretzky. And then Jordan said, I've missed, tons of game-winning shots. But we tell our kids, or tell our students, like, you're going to get thrown off the saddle. Going through COVID in this job market as an entry-level candidate is going to be brutal. It's going to be winter for a long time, but it's okay. And NO is not the first two letters of no. It's the first two. Didn't spell no. It's first two letters of not yet. So in my Vince Thompson definition, failure is a failure to try. Right. It's okay. You're going to get. You got to keep grinding, keep moving forward. And so, but in this situation, why did you finally say that enough? I'm going to keep grinding.
I was unhappy at work. I think that's probably first and foremost. I wasn't happy where I was at. I had, a couple really great years, and then it wasn't that the years changed; it's that the compensation package changed. So it's funny how I could sell the same, and every year it looks a little bit worse. And so I had this idea, and I just said, let's do it. Now, in fairness, I did not quit my job for a year or so, but I did do it. I did quit it in December. December of 19, I said to my boss, I said, look, the end is near. I want, the April 1 to be my last day. And that was pre-COVID. So I just figured if I'm going to do this, I have to go all in.
Right.
It's the only way to do it because, and that's not to say you can't do some side businesses, but with what I was needing to do, it had to be my everything.
So tell us about Ticket Time Machine.
Yeah, so Ticket Time Machine, we're a commemorative ticket company. I use the word ticket. Everyone uses that term loosely. It could be a badge or credential. We have magnets, posters. We're basically selling memories is what we're doing. With everything going digital, people want something tangible that reminds them of the fun times they had in the events. And maybe it's a sad thing. Who knows? You just never know what's going to be a memory for you, and what's a memory for me might be different from you. I mean, I don't have to tell you. The way you open the show says everything exactly. But the other part is you never know what's going to be a memory at the moment. And so aside from, hey, there's an event tomorrow or next season we want to do tickets, there's a whole market and opportunity for every single event that's ever happened in the history of the world. And there's stuff that people might want to commemorate, and they didn't even know it at the time. 5 years later, I'll give you a great example. My wife, we went to Billy Joel, our first New Year's. It was our first New Year's Eve together.
Was it in the garden?
No, it's down here. I haven't seen Billy in the garden yet.
I saw Billy's Christmas show with my son in the garden 4 years ago, and it was unbelievable. Oh, my God.
I saw him at the Meadowlands at Giants Stadium with Elton John. I've seen him a few times up north, but so I had a print at home ticket, and I'm like, this is my first. I didn't know I was going to marry her, but it's my first New Year's with my now wife, and I have this wrinkled up print at home ticket as my memory. Now I collect all the print at homes. I collect.
Right.
I'll show you stuff. You probably have the same thing. It's in terrible condition. And my wife calls it junk, calls me a hoarder. I call it, I'm just keeping, the stuff that means stuff to me. And so, you just never know. And so that's what we want to do. Fans want printed tickets. They want a printed memory. We're going to give them what they want. We're going to keep the printed alive regardless. Not everyone wants it, but if you do want it, you should have an option to get it.
Right. So tell me how it works. Who do you engage exactly for the business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually don't know the answer for that 100% yet, because every organization, every industry, it's different. So I don't have permission. The first thing I'll say is I don't have permission or licensing to do anything on my own that has trademarks or
correct.
So to that end, I have to talk to the owners of those trademarks. So it's the teams, the leagues, the venues, the artists, all of them. But I operate where I can partner with them. I could be their supplier. I can get licensing from them. And so, it's really difficult to navigate sometimes, because you talk to someone who you think would be like, yeah, of course I can do that. And they're like, well, we don't have permission to do that. Even though that's their own stuff, you have to talk to this person or that person. So right now, what we're doing is we're talking to people to partner with, people to be customers of ours, people that have licenses that can give us licenses. And then customers too. Like we did a ticket for my wedding. That is something simple. I don't need permission. So if you have a wedding and you want us to do stuff for a wedding, we can do that. I've gotten a lot of requests for baseball tickets because of milestones, and there's no stands in the fans and no printed tickets. I'm not allowed to sell that. So I just print some free stuff for people right now. Eventually I envision being B2C, but really my world is B2B right now.
Right. So for instance, if my client Coca-Cola, we were sponsoring, say, MLS championship or, NBA championship, college football championship, and we had the rights to the trademark, we would engage you to do a really fun souvenir ticket, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And we could talk, even if you're Coca-Cola and you wanted to be a part of the championship, but you didn't have any licensing, I would work with you to work with the championship to all partner together to offer something, where you could have it, experiential marketing or some type of activation, or it could just be advertising on the ticket.
And here's another thing that we tell our students. These are things that they, and by the way, right now could be a great time with chaos, and there's chaos. There's chaos. In chaos, there's opportunity. This could be a great time to start something, because again, I say, and Matt, I'll be honest with you, COVID, silver linings department, if you don't lose anybody you love, I've been able to do a lot of things I always had wanted to do. I wanted to write my book. I wanted to do my virtual intern program. I wanted to exercise daily, all the things when I'm a big old hamster wheel you get to do. But so far, and I, like I said, I think that you're a sort of a memory machine. You're a memory maker. You're a memory company. What's the biggest and best one that you've done?
Well, I did. Well, first of all, I want to echo what you said. Minus all the lives that have been lost, this has been very fruitful for me as an individual and as a company. For all the reasons you said. And now there's no better time than now to start something. We might be towards the end of that window, but we're definitely in that window. So I wanted to tell you that. Two of the things that really were great for me, I did an 80s convention out in Anaheim, and I was just walking around meeting, Corey Haim was there, and I'm drawing a name on a blank. So Rudy, the guy from the Goonies, and Rudy. And,
right.
Yeah, just a ton of great people, back in the 80s, and walked around, did some good stuff. And I did a festival called the Four Chord Music Festival.
Right.
And I went there and I had a booth there, which is not something I normally want to do, but I got in the game late, and he's like, yeah, we can't do anything, but if you want to do a booth. So I printed up some tickets. I got there. It was Offspring and Simple Plan were the two headliners, but Offspring was the top.
Right.
5 minutes before gates open, Offspring cancels. It starts, and almost all my stuff has Offspring on it. It started raining most of the day, and it was at the end of the Ravens Steelers. It was up in Pittsburgh. The Ravens Steelers were there, but it was a great day of music and just talking. I mean, that was my first real experience of out there selling my stuff, and I loved it. I lost money that day because I couldn't sell a lot of stuff.
Right.
The ticket came out great. It's probably my favorite ticket, and the experience was great. The guy Rishi who runs it, the nicest guy you'll meet in entertainment. I just felt so bad for him, and he said, "Look, if you don't want to come in, we're letting you know this happened. If you don't want to come in, full refunds." This year, he actually got Blink 182 to sign up, and then it had to be postponed because of COVID. So hopefully, God willing, next year, Blink 182 in Pittsburgh, Four Chord Music Festival. I'm ready.
Well, and by the way, because the real world will come back, and people are going to go back to events. They want to go to them now. Some are going. I think you could be, onto something with this commemorative thing, because now you don't get it like we have this Comic-Con and there's DragonCon and there's the 420 Fest and and people want something to commemorate an emotional moment. So if it's the ticket on your phone, it's not
a ticket. By the way.
No, it's not a ticket, it's an admission, and I just think it's still. I get it for about 100 million reasons, but again. And I've had this debate with all my friends that run the Falcons and the Hawks and the Braves, and ironically, those are a lot of middle-aged people who collect tickets and press passes and credentials, and as well. But I think that you could be on to something big long term, and I'm going to help you everywhere I can. Talk about your philosophy on passion. Talk about, because I always tell these kids, I'm like, pursue your passion with zeal relentlessly, and you'll never work a day in your life. And talk about your philosophy on that.
Yeah. So for me, passion is really what's driven me to get to where I am today, because I've been very successful in my jobs. and even a few different sales jobs. But I didn't want to talk about it. It was like, ho hum. So when you're talking about, and you could hear the way I talk, I'm not actually a very animated guy. I'm a reserved, monotone kind of guy. But you get me talking about this stuff or the Gators or my family, and it's like it's a whole nother person. And it just makes it that much easier because people can see how authentic you are and how genuine you are about it, and that you really care about them. Like I'm a fan. That my company will always be fan first. That's why I did this. Like and so when they can hear that in your voice and they can feel it, it just makes someone want to help you more or want to listen to you more and give you more of that chance. So it's not that you can't be successful with something you're not passionate about, but it's a whole nother world when you do have that level of passion combined with your skill or knowledge. I mean, that's a dangerous combination.
Right. No, and by the way, I tell these kids this, you realize that 90% of success and results and working with people is your passion and your attitude and your willingness to go to the extra mile. So talk about your philosophy on relationships, because it's not necessarily what you know, it's who you know. And people say, well, Vince, how have you represented Coke for 20 years? And I go, one simple axiom: I never take the relationship for granted. It's like a plant or a flower. You got to water it, groom it, cultivate it, fertilize it, give it sunlight. What's your philosophy on maintaining and nurturing relationships? Because the first two letters of relationships is RE, and the first two letters of reciprocal is RE. And that's not a coincidence.
Yeah, so relationships are always very big in my life for everything. And it's very important to me. I expect a lot from the people in my life, but I don't expect anything that I don't offer in return. I also understand that not everyone that I meet is going to be able to help me. I'm not going to be able to help everyone that I meet. So sometimes it's a one-way road, and that's okay. I got plenty of one ways going to me, one ways that I give to them, and that's fine. I don't fault someone for it if they can't help me. And I'm not afraid to ask someone for help, even if I don't have much to offer. But it's the cornerstone of everything. Everyone is in sales in some form or fashion, and it's how you deal with people and how you treat people is going to be a measure of your success. Now, again, that's not to say that you can be a not nice person or selfish and all this and still be successful, because you can. It's just, a lot of people are able to see that. And it all goes back to being authentic and genuine. Now, relationships are great, but you have to go beyond the relationship. My last job, I was supervising a couple of sales reps, and this one rep, all she talked about is how great a relationship we had with these people, but she was never selling anything. All right? So you got, and I know everyone says, well, you can't sell on price. Well, you got to sell on price sometimes, because that's one of the most important things when an educated consumer is going to look at.
Right.
It doesn't matter, how nice you are, or, you obviously got to give value. So you got to go beyond relationship, but the relationship is how it gets you to the ability and the opportunity to bring it to the next level.
Hey, I'm going to tell you, when you have those relationships, and it's okay to respectfully disagree with people, but those, particularly when times get tough, the strength of those relationships is really what will carry you through a lot of things. But so talk about the importance, because we talk about this a lot as well. Talk about the importance of mentors, because we tell the kids, like, look, you need mentors. Find mentors. Don't go to mentors who are going to sugarcoat things. They need to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Yeah, I think that's that's great. I couldn't have said, that's exactly what I would say, because people throw mentors at each other. I think mentors happen organically. It's not like, hey, I need to find a mentor. Would you want to be my mentor? Because you want to sort of just like I was part of a mentor program for an organization, and they put me. This person was my mentor, and it really look. We talked. We had it fine, but he wasn't able to teach me anything. And they just put people together. It wasn't a good fit for mentor. But I have people who I consider my mentor now, and it just kind of happened that way. but it's very important. Now, one thing, and I don't know if you were going to talk about this, but internships, and I think that's a good way to it's sort of like a mentorship, but you're also learning about it. So I can tell you, I had 4 interns from the University of Florida. One of them was actually a sophomore, or 2 of them, a sophomore. I'm a sophomore in college. I couldn't even fathom wanting to do an internship. It's ridiculous. It's unbelievable. And then so get yourself into an internship. And then there's another program called Gator Nest, where these are a little bit older, like graduate students, where they get like 4 or 6 people together and they go with a company and they kind of just work through stuff. So it's kind of like an internship, but that's almost like, and I treat my interns and the people in the Gator Nest as a mentor. I try and teach them stuff.
Right.
I say, not exactly like, hey, can you get me coffee? Right. Or can you type up this, read this report and type it up for me? Like, hey, what would you like to learn? Or, hey, this is something that I've learned around my way, and I wish I would have known when I was in your situation, because I would have accelerated a lot quicker.
Right.
So that's the type of I'd like to be a mentor to my interns and to anyone who I work with, because I think I have a lot of value to give them for the mistakes I made, for the failures I've had, and then give them the opportunity too. Be like, hey, do something that you want to do that's outside your comfort zone, because that's the only way you're going to do it. Because the second you go to that first job, most likely you're not going to get to tell them what you want to do. They're going to tell them what you have to do.
Correct. And I tell you this too, Matt, these kids are so sophisticated.
They're great
now. And I always love my kids because they don't know not to say no to being pushed out of their comfort zone. We've had a transformation in our business over the last 6 months. As you can imagine, we've lost millions and thousands of events, and one of the hardest things I've done, other than run a virtual company, is getting some of my veterans to push themselves out of the comfort zone. And some have, and some haven't, and some haven't survived it, and some have. So as we wrap this great and fascinating conversation, I really, really appreciate it. What are some go-to, and they don't have to be industry or trade specific or anything, but what are some of the go-tos for you from a reading, a podcast, books, programs that you would recommend, or authors that you would recommend our kids read or listen to or watch?
Yeah, so I'm probably embarrassed to say this. I'm not a big reader of books, but I know there's a ton out there that I would love to do more of. I do a lot of it online. LinkedIn, there's a lot of articles that I just go to and kind of.
LinkedIn's amazing.
Yeah, LinkedIn to me it's a must-have for anyone, whether it's student,
absolutely.
You have to be on there, and I spend a lot of time on there and social media. So I'm reading the articles, the opinion pieces, just trying to learn more about the industry and the people. I try and join webinars when I can, just to hear people. I'm doing webinars with panels. I find that very intriguing to have my guests and hear them from all different walks of life, different industries and different environments, different points of views. So that's really where I learn. And it's, again, I told you from the start, I'm a street smart kind of guy, not necessarily a book smart. So, and there's value to both. I think you need both. But, documentaries have been great. I love watching documentaries. Netflix has a ton of documentaries just to be, get yourself more well-rounded. My wife and I, we watch Jeopardy every day. It's unbelievable how much.
It is unbelievable
how much we know, and then how much we don't know. And the same thing with the weakest link. I know it's a game show and it's supposed to be funny. Great trivia questions and stuff that you'll be like, how do I not know that as a human, as an American, as a sports fan, whatever it is. So that's really how I get my knowledge and learn and try and, just moving forward every day, just get better and better. I want to be a better person. I want to be a better businessman. I want to be a better friend, husband, all of that. And I think, all of everything I'm watching, everything I'm doing is leading me towards that.
Well, listen, this has just been great. I look forward to building a friendship with you, a relationship with you. Thank you for sharing your, wit and wisdom and entrepreneurship with our students of Virtual Melt University. Matt Wolff, founder, CEO, the Ticket Time Machine. I love it, and we really appreciate you joining us today. And go Gators this weekend against the Dogs, and it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, I'm actually going to be in Jacksonville. One last thing I want to say: I've become very involved with an organization called Same Here CEO. You can go on the website and
Same,
read about it.
same here, CEO.
Same here, CEO. Yeah,
Okay.
it's actually
All
Same
right.
Here Global. They have athletes and celebrities, but it's
Talk about it for a minute, because this is a good resource.
Yeah, it's called Same Here. It's a global mental health organization. I found Eric Cussin online. Obviously, that's where I'm finding everything. And I decided to tell my story. I had some mental health issues, and the one thing I want to say is, if you're struggling for whatever reason it is, there's a lot of resources out there that can help you. You know, it's okay to not be okay. I know that's a cliche, but it's 100% true. There are people out there who want to help. I'm here to help any way I can. There's people who care. Just find the help, talk about it. There's nothing wrong with it.
Right.
And just like I said to you off the camera, you know, I'm just trying to get onto the other side and figure it out. And I don't have all the answers. I have a great circle around me. I have people who I don't know that are willing to help me with a phone call. And I'm the same way with people that I don't know, willing to help with a phone call or an email. So ask. I mean, that's all about life, anything.
Right.
Just ask. Don't be afraid to ask for what you need.
Yeah, and then I'll tell you this. I mean, you know, if you had a broken leg, you'd go get it seen about, and it's the same way with mental health. And I'm a huge advocate of it, and I'm glad that it's not taboo to talk about it. And by the way, what we're all going through as a country and a world right now is putting a tremendous amount of hidden stress and unseen stress and duress and pressure on us. So that's, you know, Matt, that's one major reason that I transformed Melt You into virtual Melt You, because I just wanted to help thousands of kids who were reaching out and just absolutely begging for it. And so we really appreciate you joining us. Look forward to having you back sometime. Looking forward to building a relationship with you and doing some fun business with you.
Sounds good, Vince. Thanks a lot.
Matt Wolff, founder, CEO, Ticket Time Machine, joining Virtual Melt You. That's it for this week's version of Melt You podcast, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, Vince. Hope you enjoyed today's virtual class. We'll be back soon with another edition of Melt University 2020.